You've killed lavender before. Don't pretend you haven't. You walked into that nursery, picked up that gorgeous little silver-leafed plant, brought it home with visions of a sun-drenched Mediterranean hedge blooming purple across your garden, and within 2 months, it was a brittle, gray skeleton sitting in a pot of soggy soil. Here's what nobody at that garden center will ever tell you. Lavender doesn't die because you're a bad gardener. It dies because almost everything you've been taught about caring for it is completely backward. The watering advice is wrong. The soil advice is wrong. The pruning advice? Catastrophically, plant-killingly wrong. In the next few minutes, I'm going to give you 5 secrets that flip the conventional wisdom completely on its head. These aren't tips recycled off the back of a seed packet. These come from understanding how lavender actually survives in the wild on sun-scorched, rocky Mediterranean hillsides, where nobody waters it, nobody feeds it, nobody tucks it in at night, and it still lives for decades. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why your lavender keeps dying, and exactly how to grow plants so bulletproof they'll outlive your interest in gardening altogether. Stick with me, because secret number 3 is the one that saves more lavender plants than anything else, and almost no one in the gardening world actually talks about it. Number 1, stop treating it like a plant. Start treating it like a weed. Here's the first mindset shift, and it honestly changes everything. Lavender is not a delicate ornamental that needs your attention. It's a hardened Mediterranean weed wearing a pretty dress. In its native habitat, the rocky coastlines and dry inland hills of southern France, Spain, and Greece, lavender roots itself into limestone cracks, gets baked by relentless sun, battered by salt wind, and goes without meaningful rain for 4, 5, sometimes 6 months at a stretch. The plants you see in those dreamy Provenal fields aren't being pampered. They're being commercially neglected on a massive scale, and they love it. So when you bring lavender home and immediately start treating it like a fussy houseplant, watering it on a schedule, feeding it compost tea, mulching it deeply with rich organic matter, you're essentially smothering a desert survivor in luxury. And luxury kills lavender faster than any drought ever could. What you need to do instead is find the worst spot in your garden. The sunniest, driest, most neglected corner where nothing else seems to want to grow, because the soil is thin and the afternoon sun is brutal. That's lavender paradise. Got a slope? Even better. A south-facing slope with shallow, rocky soil where your other plants have already given up? You've just found the perfect lavender bed. Stop trying to give it the good soil. Save that for your tomatoes. Lavender wants the leftovers, and it will reward you for them. Number 2, the soil trick that recreates a Mediterranean hillside. Let's talk about soil, because this is where most people go wrong before the plant is even in the ground. You've heard well-drained soil 1,000 times. You've nodded along and assumed your garden bed qualifies. It almost certainly doesn't. Well-drained for lavender means something far more extreme than what most gardeners imagine. Here's what you actually need to do. Dig your planting hole twice as wide as the root ball, but only as deep. Take the soil you removed and discard at least half of it. Replace that half with coarse builder's sand, horticultural grit, or crushed limestone if you can find it, not fine play sand from the hardware store, but chunky, angular grit that water flies straight through. Mix this thoroughly with your remaining native soil. Lavender roots need a soil structure with about 30 to 50% inorganic grit to truly drain the way they need it to. Then, and this is the step people consistently skip, build a small planting mound. Set your lavender on a raised hump 2 or 3 inches above the surrounding soil level. That mound does something critical. It directs water away from the crown of the plant rather than letting it pool at the base. Because here's the brutal truth about lavender, it doesn't die of thirst. It drowns, even in summer, even in weather that feels dry to you. The roots want to breathe more than they want to drink. And that simple little mound is often the difference between a plant that thrives for 15 years and one that quietly rots out during its first wet winter. One more thing on soil. If anyone has ever told you to enrich your lavender bed with compost or manure, ignore them completely. Rich soil makes lavender grow soft, leggy, and disease-prone. It produces fewer flowers and dramatically weaker fragrance because the aromatic essential oils that give lavender its scent actually concentrate when the plant is under mild stress. A pampered lavender is a boring lavender. Keep the soil lean, keep it mean, and the plant will reward you with stronger fragrance and more blooms than you'd get any other way. Number 3, the watering rule that saves 9 out of 10 plants. this is the big one. This is the single secret that, if you take nothing else from this video, will completely transform how well your lavender survives. Ready? Stop watering your lavender. Almost entirely. I know how that sounds. Every instinct you've built as a gardener tells you that plants need water, especially in summer heat. Especially when they start looking a little tired and gray. But lavender's tired look is not thirst. It's almost always the exact opposite. The wilting, the yellowing lower leaves, the dull grayish cast that makes you reach for the hose, those are the symptoms of overwatering 9 times out of 10. Here's the rule that actually works. For the first 2 to 3 weeks after planting, water deeply once a week to help the roots get established. After that, you water only when you've had no rainfall for 2 to 3 consecutive weeks and the soil 2 full inches down is completely bone dry. Stick your finger in. If you feel any moisture at all, walk away. And when you do finally water, soak the area deeply and then leave it completely alone until it's dry again. In winter, you don't water at all. Not once. Not even if it's been unusually dry. Cold, wet soil around lavender roots in winter is the single greatest killer of established plants, and more lavender is lost to well-meaning winter watering than to any pest, disease, or freeze combined. Your lavender goes semi-dormant in winter. Let it sleep dry. If you're growing in a container, the rules get even more specific. Always use terracotta, never plastic or glazed ceramic. Terracotta is porous, it actively wicks moisture out of the soil and lets the root zone breathe. Drill extra drainage holes if your pot has only one. Tip the pot slightly so water can't pool in the saucer. Better yet, ditch the saucer entirely. A lavender sitting in standing water in a saucer overnight is a lavender working toward an early grave. Number 4. The pruning method no one teaches you correctly. Raise your hand if you've ever pruned your lavender and watched it slowly collapse into a woody, hollow, dead-looking ring with green only clinging to the very outer tips. It happens to almost everyone. And it happens because pruning lavender is genuinely counterintuitive. You need to be more aggressive than feels comfortable, while simultaneously knowing exactly where to stop. Cross that line in the wrong direction, and the damage is permanent. Here's the method that actually works. Lavender needs to be pruned twice a year, and timing matters enormously. The first cut comes in early spring, just as you start to see new green growth pushing out from the gray stems. That's your signal. Take your sharpest pruners and shape the entire plant into a tight, rounded dome, removing about 1/3 of the green growth. Not a light trim, a real committed cut. You're sculpting a tidy mound, not tidying edges. The second cut comes right after flowering ends in summer, usually late summer or very early autumn. This time you cut back harder, removing all the spent flower stems plus another inch or 2 of the green growth below them, again shaping the plant into a dome. But here is the rule that determines whether the plant lives or dies. Never cut into the woody, leafless brown stems at the base. Lavender wood does not regenerate. This is the fundamental difference between lavender and most other shrubs. If you cut into bare wood, that branch is finished. Permanently, a plant that's been pruned hard into the woody zone will never recover. Always leave at least an inch, ideally more, of green leafy growth above the wood. You're managing the leafy canopy. You're never touching the trunk. Do this every year from the very first season, even when the plant is small and cutting it back feels cruel, and your lavender will stay compact, bushy, and full of flowers for a decade or more. Skip even one pruning cycle, and it starts splitting open in the center, going hollow and woody, and within 2 or 3 years, it'll be unsalvageable. The lavender that supposedly never dies is just the one that gets pruned correctly, on time, every time. Number 5. Choose the right variety for the climate you actually live in. This is the final secret, and it's the one that determines whether any of the previous 4 even have a chance to matter. Most lavender that dies in home gardens dies because the wrong variety was planted in the wrong climate. Full stop. There are 3 groups you need to know. English lavender, the angustifolia varieties, things like Munstead and Hidcote, is the most cold-hardy and the most fragrant for culinary use. If you live somewhere with genuine winters, real frost, snow, extended freezing nights, this is your plant. It handles cold down to -20 C in some cases, but it genuinely struggles in heavy summer humidity. Root rot in humid heat is its main weakness. French and Spanish lavenders, the stoicas types with the distinctive butterfly wing flowers on top, are dramatic and beautiful, but completely frost-tender. They thrive in warm coastal climates and mild winters, but are essentially annuals anywhere that gets hard freezes. If you want them in a cold zone, grow them in pots you can bring inside. Otherwise, be honest with yourself about your climate. Lavandin, the hybrid varieties like Grosso, Provence, and Super, is the one most people should actually be growing. These are the large, vigorous plants you see in commercial lavender fields across Provence and the Pacific Northwest. Lavandin handles heat better than English lavender, tolerates some humidity, blooms enormously, and forgives more beginner mistakes than either of the other types. For most gardeners in non-extreme climates, Lavandin is the smart first choice. The key is to match the variety to the climate you actually live in, not the one you're romanticizing. Don't buy a French lavender, because the flowers are extraordinary if you live somewhere it can't make it through February. Don't plant English lavender into sticky summer humidity and then wonder why it collapsed by August. Walk into the nursery, knowing your zone, knowing your summers, and knowing which of these three groups suits where you actually live, and you've already done more for your lavender's survival than 90% of buyers ever do. So there you have it. 5 secrets. Now you know exactly why lavender keeps dying on you, and exactly how to grow plants so resilient you could walk away for 6 weeks and come back to find them in full bloom. Treat it like a weed, not a house plant. Build it a hillside, not a flower bed. Water it almost never. Prune it twice a year, hard but never into the wood. And plant the right variety for the climate you actually live in, not the one you wish you did. If this video just saved your next lavender plant, do me a favor and subscribe to Plants Vizo. We put out a new episode every week on the plants people swear they can't grow, with the real science and practical strategies that actually work. Hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next, and drop a comment below telling me which secret hit you hardest, or which mistake you now realize you've been making all along. Until next time, get out there, plant something, and this time, let it truly thrive.